From beautiful downtown Millheim, in the smack-dab center of the Keystone State, this is Lou Bryson with Seen Through a Glass, the podcast that's mostly about food and drink in central Pennsylvania. Welcome to episode 57, Huntingdon, the Standing Stone. This is another episode that's been percolating on the back burner for a long time. Like the Danville episode, this one goes back to when I was writing the Pennsylvania Breweries book. When I did entries for the breweries in those books, there were 4 editions from 1997 to 2010. I like to have stuff to do once you'd visited the brewery. Tourist attractions, particularly scenic drives, interesting restaurants, and of course, great area bars. And if that sounds familiar to longtime listeners, well, yeah, I guess I'm still doing that. Anyway, I was working on the entry for Marzoni's in Duncansville, and I was casting around for nearby bars. There was Knickerbocker's, and the U.S. Hotel in Hollidaysburg, and not a lot else. Not the kind of place I was looking for, anyway. And someone recommended Boxer's Cafe in Huntingdon, and I wound up there one afternoon in early 2005. It was empty. I'd gotten there after regular lunch hours, but the bartender, who I later learned had been the owner, Tony Seguin, and we had a good chat, and the food was good, and the beer was excellent. Boxer's stuck in my mind, and I've been back maybe 5 times since, including one time I went with my son Tom about 8 years ago for an Neshaminy Creek Brewing Keep the Glass night. If I'm being honest, and I do try to be, going back to Boxer's Cafe is why you're hearing this episode. I reached out to Paula Seguin and asked her if I could get an interview, and she said, yes, how about next week? So I threw my episode schedule out the window and headed to Huntingdon. I found more than I expected, so much so that I wound up going twice, on a Saturday for beers, and on the following Monday for interviews and pizza. That part's going to be a little confusing, but when's not as important as what, I think. Anyway, first, here's what I'm drinking today. Well, I'm on the mic early before recording the rest of the show because I wanted to drink a fresh pot of Standing Stone Blue and Gold coffee. Kathy ground the beans last night, and the coffee was made just now. Why is it blue and gold? I'll quote, inspired by Juniata College, who encourages the call to think, the courage to evolve, and the conviction to act. Juniata is no Penn State. It's about 1,200 undergrad students. But you quickly learn that it has an equally large effect on its hometown. I know a couple of Juniata alumni, and this F&M grad recognizes that small college liberal arts outlook. Anyway, it seemed like the right thing to drink today. So here's a cup of fresh brewed, black, no sugar. Let's see what we've got. Of course, it's like your first whiff of whiskey, like, oh yeah, that's whiskey. Boy, there it is. And it's coffee. It's warm. It's stimulating. There's a bit of like toast, maybe really heavy toast. There's a bit of bitter chocolate, and there's like an unsweetened pastry. And now I'm getting some fruit, berries. A little bit of acidity. Try a taste here. More of that unsweetened chocolate. It seems fairly bright, but not screaming bright. I'm feeling my way here. This is not my usual tasting routine. The fruit is there, but it's not wholly ripe. It's not sweet, I guess is what I'm saying. Imagine that. You could separate the sugar from the fruit. And still that toast note, like you get when you scrape like if you get a piece of toast that's a little bit burnt and you scrape that off. I wouldn't say it's rich, but it's really full of flavor. Yeah, as I'm getting more in, this is the first thing I'm drinking today other than water. Get more in, it's clearing out my mouth, and I'm getting more of those lighter notes. Almost a bit of melon now. That's not just a good cup of coffee that's a well-made cup of coffee. We pay a fair amount of attention to making coffee. We keep the beans whole until, well, the night before we drink it. Kathy will grind it and put it in the machine. It'll be ready to go in the morning, which is pretty much what I did here. I rolled out of bed, took my pills, took the dogs out, and started the coffee pot going, and here I am doing it for you. This brings up another point. Coffee, I'll say it, coffee snobs have gravitated towards the single origin bean, the Guatemalan Huehuetenango, the Sumatra, the Ethiopian Yirgacheffe. But as it is with whiskey, a lot of people who actually make coffee, people who send the beans, a lot of times they'll like the blend because you can get things with the blend you cannot get with a single origin coffee. And it makes sense because you can take two single origin coffees, just for example, just two, and combine a bright coffee with a rich coffee and get a bright, rich coffee if you do your blending right. So think about blends and don't get the Scotch snobbery going that blends are somehow lesser. They're not. Find a coffee you like, drink that coffee. Find, if you're lucky, more than one coffee you like, and switch them around and have some fun. That's what you could do with a coffee roaster like Standing Stone. So give all the flavors a try. Don't settle on one. Try things. Switch around. Kind of like I'm telling you with everything. Have fun. And of course, before we really get rolling, here's your smack dab in the center, sponsored by the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau. Finally, after one of the wettest, cloudiest springs in recent memory, the heat is coming. And you'll probably want to get out in it and strip down to the skimpiest skimps you can to luxuriate in the warmth. But eventually, it's going to get to you, and you're going to be sweating and sticky. When that happens, when you reach your limit, chill out naturally with a zero carbon footprint in one of Happy Valley's 2 underground attractions, the famous Penn's Cave, or the equally cool, if lesser known, Woodward Cave. Penn's Cave, off Route 192 in Brush Valley, is well known as the Water Cave that you see by boat. The entire tour takes place on boats, a unique underground experience. Vaulting ceilings and karst limestone formations will make you feel like you're drifting through a cathedral made by water and stone at a cool, constant 52 degrees. If you really do want to warm up afterwards, there's also a wildlife park where you'll see bison, elk, silver foxes, black bears, mountain lions, and a pack of Arctic wolves. Woodward Cave is one ridge south in Penn's Valley, at the foot of Winkleblack Mountain in the little town of Woodward. Woodward Cave may not be as well known as Penn's Cave, but it's literally cooler. It maintains a constant temperature of 48 degrees. The cave is over 400 million years old and is slowly, eternally changing as the limestone water drips, building new flowstone every day. Woodward Cave is noted for its large vaulted rooms, and it's closed in the winter because it's a major hibernation area for bats. There's no bats in the summer, don't fret. There's also a campground with over 50 RV pads, sites for tent camping with showers, and a fully stocked camp store. Go to the happyvalley.com website to find links to these cool, quiet caves under the Attractions tab. Better bring a hoodie. Oh, hey, is it too early to mention the Happy Valley Brewers Fest? Let me just get that on your radar. It's July 19th, 4 to 8 p.m. at the parking lot by Medlar Field. Check happyvalley.com under events for more information. Huntingdon is the county seat of Huntingdon County and the largest town in the county at about 6,900 people. If you expand the town a few miles to take in Smithfield Township and the surrounding villages, it's almost half the population of the county. The place where Huntingdon now stands was first known to European settlers as Standing Stone. John Harris, Jr., who operated a ferry and trading post in what is now Harrisburg, the town's named for his father, and believe me, that's a whole story in itself. Harris traveled in the area and was known and trusted by the native tribes. He described seeing a standing stone over 14 feet tall and 6 inches square near the confluence of Standing Stone Creek and the Juniata River. The stone was reported to be carved with symbols and glyphs. The area around it was known to the settlers by that name, Standing Stone. The Standing Stone disappeared not long after Harris saw it. It was speculated that the Indians took it away, which seems ominous. But it was replaced in 1768 with a similar needle of rock, which stood there for years before malicious persons smashed it into 3 pieces. The current stone was placed at the junction of Penn and William Smith Streets in 1896. Who's William Smith? Funny you should ask. Huntingdon was surveyed in 1767 for the benefit of Reverend William Smith, who was the first provost of the Philadelphia College that would become the University of Pennsylvania. Smith, who was described as an energetic land speculator, purchased thousands of acres at the site of the town and named it for the English town of Huntingdon. He must have had a good eye for a town site. The Juniata River winds through the mountains here, creating a path among the steep ridges of Jack's Mountain and Stone Mountain that otherwise block traffic and trade to the rich farmlands of the valleys of the Juniata's tributaries. That same river path would make Huntingdon a railroad town, and it still is. If you listen closely, you can hear a passing freight train's horn during the interview. The railroads brought industry, and the town government planned for more. They helped grow Juniata College, and in the 1980s, they invited the PA Department of Corrections to build the high-security SCI Smithfield. They planned well. Industry faded, as it did in so many central Pennsylvania towns, but the college and the prison are a steady source of jobs and income, as are the government jobs attendant on being a county seat. Huntingdon also benefits from tourism. Hunting, fishing, kayaking, hiking, and mountain biking are all bare minutes from the town. And of course, there's always the return visits to the college from alumni. I'd talk about nearby Raystown Lake, but that's a bit unsure right now, with the impact from the closure of the federally unfunded campgrounds. It's also worth an episode on its own, so that might be coming. I'd love to get an interview with the folks at Richie's Dairy and talk about Teaberry ice cream. Speaking of episodes to come, I came home from Huntingdon up the Big Valley through Allensville, Belleville, and Reedsville, and that's an episode that's just waiting to happen too. Back to Huntingdon. When I went down the first time, on a Saturday afternoon, I was looking for lunch and stumbled on The Farm. It's a kind of cute acronym. The Farm on the sign is spelled out as the Family Anderson Roadside Market, and it's just as wholesome as you'd expect from that. Staffed by friendly teenagers, plentiful portions of barbecue staples, and an array of baked goods that I found hard to resist. But I did, because I really wanted that barbecue. I didn't necessarily have high expectations, but the pulled pork sandwich was quite good. Tender, moist, not slathered in sauce, and there must have been a half a pound of pork in a roll that was just substantial enough to hold it together. Add sides of an excellently cheesy mac and cheese and a cool, not too sweet tater salad, and that's a barbecue meal better than a lot of fancier places in central PA. Thanks, Family Anderson. If you roll on into Huntingdon from there on Route 22, you'll pass Lincoln Caverns, where you can tour 2 caves full of flowstone, stalactites, and the like, and you'll likely pass the prison on your way over the Juniata into Huntingdon. That's where I got my lunch on Monday. No, not at the prison, at Best Way Pizza. Best Way is a regional chain with stores all the way from Huntingdon to Somerset and Ebensburg. The original Best Way is in the Greenwood neighborhood of Altoona, and it's been open since 1991. 2 things make Best Way different. One is something you've probably seen at other pizza places. The pizzas are square. They sell by the piece, and it's like Old Forge pizza. The pieces aren't slices, they're cuts. Dare to be square, they tell you. Hey, cool, nothing wrong with that, unless you get the corner piece. The strombolis are square too, which I haven't seen since my college days. They call them square bolies. They must have gone to the same relentless marketing school as the folks at Sheets. The other thing that's different, though, is that Best Ways have a drive-thru, and that I have not seen at a pizza place before. I wasn't aware of this, and when I rolled up, I just assumed the drive-thru was for a burger place I hadn't noticed, but no, they sell cuts and sandwiches through the window. Full pizza, too, I guess, if you order that. I went inside, though, because I wanted to get out of the car. I was skeptical about a drive-thru at a pizza place, but when I ordered the lunch special, 3 cuts on a drink, it was ready about a minute after I paid, so the drive-thru probably works okay. I got 2 meat lovers, which was the special that day, and a straight-up pepperoni, and it was all good. The crust was baked all the way through, and if there's one issue I have with Central PA pizza, it's that they tend to underbake the crust. The meat lover was generous with the toppings, and the sauce was bright and tasted like fresh tomatoes, more like a marinara than a cooked-down sauce. Why am I talking so much about Best Way? I hate chain restaurants, but I really like regional chains, like the Meadows Frozen Custard and the Double T Diners down in Maryland, and of course, the Iron Hill Brew Pubs. Hey, guys, come to State College. Hershey isn't close enough. So when I find a good regional chain, they get an attaboy. After lunch, I stopped at a butcher shop I'd been told about, Brenneman's Meat Market. It's not a big place. It's less than half the size of the Penns Valley Meat Market here in Millheim, but it is stuffed with stuff. There's fresh and frozen meats, including a bunch of interesting burger variants, their own sausages, and their own bacon, and more about that later. Honestly, though, I'd go back for the other stuff, the spices, rubs, and sausage-making supplies. They sell the barbecue seasoning that Hartley's puts on their chips, the sweet and the spicy, and the sour cream and onion. That's gold, my friends, flavoring gold. I got a box of Seguin rib rub from the folks that package my favorite Hungarian paprika, and it was great on the ribs I made last weekend. But okay, back to Monday morning. I needed a coffee after the interview, so of course I stopped at Standing Stone Coffee. I was lucky. Owner Greg Anderson was there, working behind the counter, cleaning, arranging, restocking. I got a coffee and we chatted a bit. Standing Stone isn't just a coffee shop, they're a coffee roaster. You may have seen their coffee around. They're in 5 counties. They work with top suppliers and can trace every bean back to the farm where it was raised. Part of what they roast are fair trade, organic, and bird-friendly coffee beans. The rest are sourced through ethical importers. Greg worked in campus ministry, where he met his wife, Jessie. He was inspired to open the coffee shop by a book that has inspired my own writing, Ray Oldenburg's The Great Good Place. Oldenburg extolled the benefits of a third place, somewhere people can go other than home and work, where they can meet and mingle with a variety of people, and through that, even without purposeful intent, build a community. Yeah, I love that. Standing Stone was inspired by that, and it shows. There are board games, strong Wi-Fi, and community groups meet there. And I was delighted to see a Pennsylvania merch section with maple syrup, suey peppers, Burnt Cabin's grist mill pancake mix, Tate Farm fruit products, Ace Honey from Allensville, DeBruno Brothers snacks from Philly, and Bumbleberry Farm spreads from Pittsburgh. Greg Anderson clearly walks the walk, and I love to see it. I'd be almost as happy hanging here as I am at Boxer's Cafe. Which reminds me, we need to get to that interview, and then we'll bop around town a bit more. There's a cocktail bar and a brewery to get to yet. Like I said, my interview was on Monday, but I wanted to experience Boxer's Cafe fresh, so when I was in town the previous Saturday, after having my barbecue at the farm, I went in and took a seat at the bar. I love sitting at a comfortable bar and letting my mind wander on possibilities, and by possibilities, I mean the tap list. We'll talk more about that in the interview, too. Meantime, after some conversation with the bartender, I decided on a Nepenthe Fossil, an aptly named red ale from this Baltimore brewery. Juicy in the old-school way, luscious malt, but firmly hopped as well. While I was enjoying the first couple sips, I spied 2 pies on the back bar. I asked the bartender about them and decided to have a slice of the mixed berry, what they call bumbleberry in Northwest PA. When asked if I'd like it warmed with ice cream, I split the difference and asked her to just warm it. Oh my, it was good. The lattice on top, nice and flaky. You'll hear more about the pie in the interview, too. There are 2 corrections on the interview. Burger King is no longer owned by the same company that owns Guinness, Diageo. They sold the company in 2002. There's too much history piling up in my brain, I guess. The other one isn't actually a correction. Paula and I mentioned briefly Watney's Red Barrel, a beer some of you may remember from the 80s and 90s. As I was editing the interview, I suddenly remembered that it was the beer we had on tap at our wedding reception way back in 1989. Thanks, Papa Kurt, for getting us some good beer. The things you remember. This interview with Paula Seguin has a lot of those moments. Enjoy. Hey, I'm here with Paula Seguin at Boxer's Cafe in Huntingdon. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
That's good. So I wanted to talk to you particularly because I've been doing a really occasional thing of getting to what I like to call the original beer bars in central Pennsylvania. And I've wanted to get to Boxers for a while. Can we talk about you and Tony and how things started?
Sure, yeah. When we first opened in May of 1990, Tony and I were just dating, and he actually opened the restaurant with a partner named Pat.
Okay. And
Tony and I were just dating, and then pretty much literally a weekend, he said, "We can't afford to pay you. Would you become a partner?" And so I went to my father and I asked my dad to lend me the money to buy in. And so I've been here since the beginning because I was working with him and trying to help get it going. I was living in Boalsburg at State College. But then I ended up moving to Huntingdon. Okay. And I've been here 35 years, which is nuts. We gave it a 3 to 5 year commitment, and now 35 years.
There you are.
But we ended up here in Huntingdon for that reason. And the opportunity, because the family, the Susie Wong egg roll family, they own the building and the license, and Tony was like a son to them. And so they allowed us to buy the license from them, like an agreement of sale kind of deal, and that's how we got started.
That just really is, because that is a name that keeps coming up. The Susie Wong thing.
Susie, yeah, they were a staple in the community in State College. And I always sold their stuff here. And Susie's a good friend of mine. And David was one of Tony's best friends. Okay. So that's how we do the family. So, so just known each other for a long time. So
yeah, there was it's an old building, obviously, and there's a Reed's name on the step.
Yeah, it was an apothecary. So
okay.
It was built in 1862, I think, 1862 or 65.
Okay.
And it was the original storefront. So we're registered, all that. It became.
There's a whole historic area.
There's a lot of historic buildings in downtown. Yeah. So, but this was the oldest storefront. So it became like a drugstore type, And then there was the only piece that's original that I have is the back bar there,
which is incredible.
Which is beautiful. Yeah, but there used to be, cabinets and all that, but I don't know what happened to them all. So and then it became restaurants and bars, in the 40s.
Okay.
So, but it had been Reed's drugstore. Back turn of the century kind of thing. So, but and then we got it in May of 90. It had been empty for a few years when we moved in 90, and we called it Boxers because of the sign is Tony's family's dog, Pretzel.
Oh, okay.
So she was the model for the sign. So, because his family had boxer puppies and all that. And my family, a lot of my siblings have boxers. And Tony and I we did have boxers occasionally, but we had more natural dogs that needed homes kind of things. So we don't really have a boxer right now. I have a crazy mutt. But my siblings have them and his brother has them. Okay. And his sisters have had them, so. But it was just
if we had a place, it would be the Corky Cafe. Same kind of idea.
We should have called it the Natural Dog Cafe because we don't have boxers.
Great name.
Yeah, that would be But no, boxers. And they're great loyal dogs, and so Tony loved boxers, and so that's why we just came upon that name. So
that's great.
So,
like I said, I like talking to people who were beer bars way early. When did that start? The focus on beer. It's a beer-only license.
Beer only, yes.
Right?
We have a retail dispensary license. Okay. And so we could have upgraded and gotten a full liquor license, but we decided to not do that because we didn't want whiskey drunks, and you just get into so much more with people when they drink booze. Keep
it simpler.
Yeah, and so our niche is that we've always had really good beer on draft from the beginning. So the first 13 months the license was in escrow or whatever, and then we finally got it in our name, and we knew that we wanted to have unique beers because I had worked at Zeno's over at State College, and so we both loved good beers, and so we decided that that would be our niche, that we'd have. Cool beers on draft. I try to have all different craft beers on, and then we have some staples like the Franziskaner and Guinness, but
good staples.
Yeah, and then we have a wheat beer, we have a stout, and then we do one cheap draft, and then we always have a cider because I'm a cider drinker. Okay. And then I try to alternate all different ones from local and far away breweries. We don't do a lot of imports. It's mostly just Franziskaner obviously is imported. Right. I think Guinness is owned by Burger King now or something. But so.
Oh God, that's right. It is the same company.
Yeah, I think it's owned by
Diageo. Yeah.
That's why Guinness became so popular because we were the first place in Huntingdon County to have Guinness.
Oh, okay.
So we've always had that on draft. So.
Yeah.
But
I assume that's a fairly steady seller.
yeah, oh yeah, people love Guinness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And as I mentioned to you, I was in on Saturday a couple days ago, and I asked the bartender, I said, do you get a lot of students? She's like, oh, no, faculty.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's coming from
yeah,
the college.
Years ago, we used to get a lot more students, but I swear COVID just messed everybody up. And then like my kid just graduated from Penn State, and they're like they were a COVID kid, because they spent their junior and senior year at my dining room table instead of socializing. So
yeah, things are different.
But kids are different now, and like they just don't go out. Like my friends that own bars uptown have just said that they just don't see the students. Wow. They don't come out much.
Wow.
But I get all of my close friends are people that work at Juniata, so Philatelic College here in town. So but we get mostly the staff, not the kids.
And I'm just going completely off track here because I'm curious and I want to find out if it's the same here. Are people going home earlier too?
Oh, totally, yes.
Oh my God! Because I talked to Damien up at Old Forge in Danville, and he's like, "It's hard to stay open after 9."
Oh, we don't stay open after 9. Yeah, I mean, every once in a while we'll have a few people sitting at the bar, but it used to be we were always open late. Yeah, and people just don't go out. You know, and it used to be like if you were going to go out for dinner, you go out to dinner like 7 or 8 at night. Now, like at 6 o'clock, we're packed.
Yep.
And then everyone's home. All the people I know that have bars in town have all said that they just don't get the late night people anymore.
Wow, that's such a shift.
Yeah,
it's got to be COVID.
Oh, I think it's definitely the after effects of COVID and just people not, and then just. Getting DUIs, their cops are out, and, stuff like that.
That's true too.
And we just don't usually get. That's the one nice thing that we always wanted when we started this place. We wanted it to be a place where like a mom and dad could come in and have a beer, and you don't have some jerk at the bar.
Right.
That's why you just don't want people getting intoxicated. Do it at home.
Don't,
come here and eat good food and have a few good beers, and then
I put the good food thing. I put something up on Facebook after I was here. I got a piece of pie. And I'm like, where was the last time you got fresh baked pie at a bar? And I'm like, I've got friends checking in from all over the country. Like, I've never seen pie at a bar.
Yeah, and Helen, my mother-in-law, bakes all pies.
She really?
Yeah, she's 88. Wow. She's a rock star.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it was a great pie.
Her pie is good. Yeah, she's got a lot of practice. She's been baking pie for us since we opened.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, our pie, we're known for our pies and our cakes. I make carrot cake, and she makes pies. And then I make the soup daily.
I was going to say, I've heard a lot about the soup, too.
Yeah, every day I make the soup. So I've been doing that for a long time.
That's great. We did talk about the beer-only license back in... 90, when I'm sorry, when
90.
90?
Yeah, May of 1990.
So who else was there in central Pennsylvania doing craft beer?
Not a lot. Zeno's. There was, Champs has always been great too.
Okay.
Scott's places.
Yep.
He's such a smart businessman, and his restaurants are great, and he always has really cool beer on draft. So Tony and I went out and we went to Champs.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So. But it really wasn't. So.
Yeah, I mean, John Bonet didn't really get going until later.
Yeah, and I've never been there. I need to go there. I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard it's really nice.
Yeah. Well, I'm
not
not saying yes or no, but new owner. I haven't been since the new owner came. Yeah. I haven't heard anything bad about it, so I assume it's still.
Yeah, I've Googled it and looked it up, but ever since Tony passed, I just don't go out much. And I also work all the time because I don't have the staff.
Yeah, another COVID effect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. And it's like I used to always, before COVID, I always had 20 employees, and now 11 to 12.
Wow.
And I'm working in the kitchen again.
Yeah,
I'm back working in the kitchen, which I hadn't been for years. Now I'm back just because I don't have the staff to cover it.
Let's jump to that. Actually, we'll get back to some other stuff. The kitchen, you've got a fairly big menu for a place like this.
Yeah.
A ton of different sandwiches.
Yeah.
How does that work out?
Actually, a lot of the sandwiches complement each other, and we're using products that can be used for this one and this one and that one. So yeah, we just we go through a lot of chicken, obviously, but we used to have a wing night, but we stopped doing wings after COVID just because they were too expensive, and just like the oil for changing the oil. It was like $150 to do the oil, just because, the 5-gallon things of oil used to be like $18 now. Then during COVID, they were like over 60. Just all the food prices have gone up so much.
Yeah.
And beer prices as well have gone up.
Yes.
Everything's going up. So it's just the state of the world right now.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, which may be some of the reason people aren't staying out as late too.
Yeah.
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 You have a fair number of vegetarian offerings as well. Is that a reflection of the area or personal preference?
Personal preference. I am not a vegetarian, but we have family members that are, and we just wanted to have options for people, and so we just made a lot of vegetarian items, which is healthier for you than the meat, even though I like to eat meat. But
yeah. How does the I'm trying to get at that it's called a cafe. Is the food a bigger deal than at most bars, do you think? I mean,
we're known more. I think we're known more as a restaurant than as a bar. Well, we used to be we used to have live music in here, and we haven't had live music since COVID, and and we got rid of the television and all that, because of the state of the world. It was like, no, let's not listen to the news because it's just not happy. Yeah. So, I mean, we definitely. Food is more important, I think, right now, because people want to eat out and early and then go home, and they don't want to sit at the bar and drink all night like they used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lived upstairs for the first 10 years, which was convenient, but then it got we need to buy a house inside.
Oh, yeah.
Just to get away from the place, because we were just always in here, and then we go upstairs, sleep, come back down. So.
Yeah, when you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
What's I don't know. Is there a favorite sandwich? Is there one that does year after year? I mean, I don't think your menu's changed that much.
No, it hasn't really changed that much. We sell a lot of Reubens. People really like our Reubens. We use good boar's head meat, and, and good bread, and then we use Amorosa rolls. Philly cheesesteaks are popular.
Okay.
Yeah, we do vegetarian. We make our own crab cake. Crab's obviously not vegetarian, but we make our own. Veggie melts, and we make everything from scratch.
Okay.
We have a few snacky items that are product, but mostly we make everything from scratch.
Okay.
So, I said, I make the soup every morning.
It's a pretty good sized kitchen.
Yeah, and it's a good choreography in the kitchen between the three of us. When I work with two of my guys in the kitchen, and we just know how to work around each other, and you have to know the dance.
Yeah. Back to the beer. Well, one thing did. The brewery opening in town affect your business any, or?
We definitely complement each other.
Okay.
And Sean is a good guy. He owns the brewery, Juniata Brewing, and I alternate his beer in every once in a while. I've been using Bull City Brewing.
Oh yeah.
I've been getting theirs.
Gordy. Dave Staub.
Yep, Dave Staub.
Yeah.
Good friend.
Yeah.
And then Gordy's super great. The guy that I deal with.
Yeah.
Gordy. He brings the beer. They self-distribute, so
okay.
I have their wheelie on right now, which is good for summer around here because. With our bike, I used to own the bike shop with Tony, which is a couple doors down.
Okay.
And that business definitely complements this business because the mountain bikers will come here then after they go out riding and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've never seen a tick removal chart in a bike room before. That was kind of giveaway.
Yeah, that's funny. Someone from Juniata asked me to hang those up. I don't know, but there's a billboard out there too.
Oh, really?
Well, the ticks are really high right now. There's a lot of ticks around. So you got to watch your dogs and yourself.
We're watching our dog. We're finding a lot on the dogs already.
Yeah, when they're out running around.
Yeah.
My dog gets them too. So.
You talked about the beer program. Is it? I mean, I know you have bottles and cans, but it's really more about the draft.
Yeah, we sell a lot more draft. We used to sell a lot of bottles and 6-packs to go, but people is not a demand for it. So that's why I just try to do, alternate different things on draft. So then people every time they come in, they'll be like, "Oh, you had this really good one on last week, and what do you have now?" And I just put a seltzer on, which that's sold pretty well. Yeah, that's kind of interesting, and that's been selling well. So. And then we have, I always try to have a double IPA and an IPA and then a Pilsner or an Amber, just different sours are coming in now. So for the summer, we'll have a bunch of sours rotated in. So
I had a red ale, which I can't remember the last time I had a red ale. That was wild.
Oh, good.
Yeah. No, it was good.
Yeah.
Good beer. I remember drinking a lot of red ales in the 90s. And
I remember, I can't remember the name, and it was Watney's Red Barrel.
Oh, Watney's Red Barrel.
Yeah, and I love a Bass ale, Bass. You never see Bass anymore, yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I can't remember the last time.
A good English, red ale like that. I love those. They're good.
The front of your bar is all. What are they, 6-packs or?
Oh yeah, Tony did that. Yeah, he did that one night. We had so many 6-packs. Yeah, and he just stayed up all night and put it on there. So we have it all. And it's all different beers that we've had over the years. And like, I look at it sometimes and I think, oh my God, I forgot we had that.
Right.
Like, some of them don't even exist anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, I saw the stout sign up on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah, there's an old friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to, they had, what was their red one that was so good? They had a good red ale.
Oh,
too.
the ESB, the Scarlet Lady?
Scarlet Lady, yes.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
We used to put that on draft, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think the stouts even exist anymore. Because I think Carol...
They were being made under license, I want to say by Evil Twin, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, Carol's retired.
Yeah,
She's
I heard
in
that
New England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for her. I want to retire.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I just saw her last year.
She always seemed like a cool person. I never met her, but everything I read about her, she seemed like
great.
a really cool person.
Yeah. Yeah. I can count myself fortunate to have known her for quite a while. Are there any beers that stick out in your memory that you're particularly proud you had, I don't know, had first or had here? Or?
Well, Guinness in particular, I mean, like when we first opened, because we used to always have Yingling Porter on too.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day. Because Tony loved porters, so he always liked dark beers. So we had, that was on, and I like that we find really unique, my sales reps are great, especially the guy from Nittany Beverage. They send me the list every week, and I get a lot of good stuff from him. And and this, I use Raystown Beverage to get all my beers in. So because we're in Huntingdon, it has to go from Nittany to Raystown to me, and so I'm paying more for the beer than what they're paying in State College, but. They get me all, and I used to always have half barrels, and now I just do sixels. Yeah. Just because I want to rotate it more often, so. And I've been keeping up. Tony was really the one that ordered all the beers, but since he's passed. But I think I'm doing okay. People tell me I am, so. I was like trying to have a good.
I like seeing a good small tap set better than, somebody who tries to get everything.
Yeah. Yeah, we
have
10 drafts.
Yeah.
10, right? 10, 3, yeah, 10. So, yeah, which is nice. Like I said, I do have the staples. Like, we always keep it cheap. We had Lion's Head forever, but they're not making it anymore.
Really?
So I put PBR on.
Oh, my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, he can't get it, my distributor, he said,
Wow.
So he's looking into it. But, yeah, because that was one I did buy in a half barrel, the cheap, cheap draft, But, yeah, Yingling Lager was our cheap draft for a long time, and then we just stopped selling Yingling. So but PBR sells well.
Oh, bet.
Yeah, and it tastes like it tastes when you're a kid.
Yes.
Because it's like a cold PBR is actually really good.
Yeah, I used to drink the stuff. I'll admit it. Yeah. A lot of the iconic beer bars didn't make it through COVID. Falling Rock in Denver, the Gray Lodge in Philadelphia, a bunch of others. Are you insulated because you're in Huntingdon, or you lean more on the restaurant end?
Right now, we're leaning more on the restaurant end because I don't get the bar crowd anymore.
Yeah.
But on a Friday night, we get a good crowd.
Okay.
Friday and Saturday nights, and we get, like, the summertime, we get lake people. Because this is a resort area, but with the current administration, and they've shut down all the campgrounds at the lake, so that's going to definitely affect my business.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard summer.
Yeah, a good friend of ours was running the food booth out at the lake, and she's not even opening just because there's not going to be people camping. There's not, no one's going to be there, so you're just going to come,
Jeez.
So yeah, that's going to affect. I'm curious to see how that's going to affect us because I get a lot of repeat people that always camp there every year, and that was like their summer vacation, and then they'd come into town and they'd come here, and
Yeah, I didn't even realize there was a federal connection to Raystown.
Yeah, it's all federal because it's the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I wanted to get a little more, I don't know, existential, whatever. What makes Boxers what it is? I mean, because a place doesn't stay open for 35 years without, I don't know, a meaning, a character.
It's funny because I just celebrated 35 years.
Yeah.
I thanked all my customers and because I've got a lot of people that have been coming here since we opened that, and I have really loyal customers, and people will reach out to me that had been students at Juniata that say, oh, we miss Boxers or and I've got different people that when they came for job interviews in this area and they were brought here for a meal, they would be here and they'd be like, we could live in this town. This is a cool place. And I think it's a really cool place. And I'm very proud of it. And Tony and I were always really proud of it that, and it's a safe place. Mm-hmm. We have the rainbow flag out there. And if people, any walk of life could come in here, Tony was much more political than I am. And, got us in trouble sometimes because he was a bleeding heart liberal and
not afraid to talk about it.
Not afraid to talk about it, which I respect, but it also affected our business in this area because there's a lot of
people who aren't.
And so I do the peace sign instead and say, anyone that wants to come in here is welcome. I don't care if you're wearing a MAGA hat or if you're, a gay. But sometimes there's like these young gay kids are in here, and I'm so happy that they feel safe and they can come in here because this is rural Pennsylvania. So
you need a place.
Yeah. And it's a good place where, so a lot of my, like the high school kids will come in and they're all so cute, they're just on dates and stuff like that. It's very sweet. So, but yeah, it's a safe place for people to come, any walk of life. So
yeah. I mean, any town of this size, I would be happy to have a place like this. Yeah. It's not just safe, it's comfortable.
Yeah. And it's old and I got crappy wallpaper which I'm not changing.
Yeah, but the mosaic floor, I love the mosaic floors.
Yeah, the old floor, yeah.
Yeah, there was a place I used to go in Lancaster, had one of them, and I'd walk in and I'm like, yeah. It's that whole been there thing.
Yeah.
So tell me more about Huntingdon. What
the county seat. It's the county seat.
Oh yeah.
So we have that's one of the draws. A lot of lawyers. I get a lot of lawyers at lunchtime. And if there's a big court thing, we get the people come in from the court. We're one of the few places that's open for lunch, and we do well. Our lunches are good.
Okay.
We still open for lunch. Some places have just closed down and don't even bother with lunch anymore. But I still do lunch. And there's some days it stinks and it's not busy, but other days we get a lot of takeout from different offices and stuff like that. So. But it's a beautiful area, and if you love to kayak or bike ride, it's a great place. There's lots of rails to trails, and then the Allegrippus trails, of course, are the mountain biking trails out at the lake, which we see a lot of traffic from that. And like I said, we used to own the bike shop, Rothrock Outfitters. Tony started that over 25 years ago, but when he passed away, I sold the business to two of my employees there. And they kept it going, and we just had the first Dirk Fest that we hadn't had in a while, and that was a big success. It was good. Yeah, and people are really into doing outdoorsy stuff. Yeah.
Do you get and I only asked because I just did a show on it. Do you get much fishing in the area?
Oh yeah, a lot of people come here to fish, down in Barry and stuff like that. There's along the river, and then Spruce Creek, of course, is where all the trout fishing is. So yeah, we do see a lot of fishermen too.
Good.
So yeah, a lot of outdoorsy people are out here.
What is there anything else in the area?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I know.
It's rural, so it's like you got to make your own fun kind of thing,
Right.
And there's the college and the hospital and the, trying to think the people that work in the area.
Yeah.
But there's a few restaurants that have stayed open, but a lot of them new owners, it turns over. Like this, I owned the business for 35 years, and it was, that's a rarity. There's not a lot of people that have stayed. A lot of places are still open, but they have, this is the fourth owner or whatever. So.
Oh, wow, yeah.
But I mean, for the time being, I'm staying open. I just, because I don't know what I'd do if I didn't do this, and I'm in my 60s. Who's going to hire me?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
My younger brother's retired, and I'm still working. it's like, yeah, so.
Yeah.
But I just. Now that I've owned my own business for so long, and Tony and I were our own bosses, and then to go, I think I'd go crazy if I was sitting home all day. I would definitely not like that. So I'm a social person, and it's nice being in here, and Well,
I mean, seems to work for your mother-in-law. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We take care of each other. Yeah. She's gonna outlive me. She's always out cutting my grass.
Oh my God.
I'm in the house drinking wine, and she's out cutting grass. So she's a rock star.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. But.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. No, and thanks for being here this morning.
Oh yeah, no problem. I have to do
that.
Payroll right now, so I have to write out the payroll checks. So.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, of course, thank you.
I got to do more of these OG beer bar interviews, and I wish I'd taken a picture of that bar front with all the six-pack graphics. Anyway, Saturday after the beer and pie, I walked east on Penn Street to 312 Kitchen, which had just opened at 4 o'clock. It's not a big place, but it's nicely designed, kind of Wedgwood colors with a solid bar in the back that must be magnetized because it drew me right in. I asked to see a cocktail menu, but nothing hit me right where I was wanting it to, so I checked the back bar for inspiration. It hit. I had a highball made with Toki whiskey. This Japanese blended whiskey is made with spirits from Suntory's Yamazaki, Hakushu, and Chitta distilleries, largely from the last two. Hakushu is a relatively light malt whiskey, aged in used bourbon barrels, Chitta is a relatively heavy grain whiskey, aged in used bourbon barrels and Spanish wine barrels. The substantial highball she made me was both mildly sweet and aromatic and briskly bubbly. The sidewalk had been warm, verging on hot, and this was a welcome restorative. It left me with a very good impression of 312, as did the menu, which sounded so good that I sent a picture of it to Kathy, suggesting we should return to celebrate anything, and soon. I made one more stop on Saturday, Juniata Brewing Company, the only brewery in Huntingdon, city or county. It's not very big, but the beer I had was good, a chun-delicious cream ale, and the bartender was pleasant. Remember I mentioned someone had told me about Brenneman's Bacon? It was her. They have bacon bingo once a month at the brewery, and the prizes are 1 and 5 pound packs of Brenneman's Bacon. It's a popular night. I came back to the brewery on Monday to talk to the owner, Sean Steig. He told me a tale I've heard several times in various versions. They opened on March 14th, 2020. Wow, what was that like? 2 days of semi-normal business, he said, and then we were doing business in the shadow of the pandemic. Indeed. What they'd thought was a 6-month supply of half-gallon growlers, the jugs for selling draft to go, were all sold in 6 days. Suppliers were already out when they went to order more. So they quickly bought up 32-ounce mason jars ahead of the home canning surge, and they still use those. Why a craft brewery? Sean knew nothing about beer. But when he and his wife moved back to Huntingdon from Baltimore for her to take a job at Juniata College, he took the chance to look around and reassess what he was doing. He was a member of the Huntingdon Beer Club, which was a group that got together and mixed cases of craft beer so everyone could try new beers, back when we had to buy beer by the case. Do you guys remember that? Anyway, he thought, this could work. I have a liberal arts degree. I can do anything. Hey, there it is again. Yay, liberal arts! Because, like Greg Anderson, and like Tony and Paula Seguin, what Sean Steig really wanted to do was bring the community together. Luckily, he found a partner, David Welsh, who really wanted to brew good beer. Things developed from there. Clearly, they got through the pandemic with determination and creativity. They cleaned up and decorated another part of the old factory building they're in for more spacious dining and drinking, and then borrowed a big tent when the state said that the building wasn't spacious enough. They found more mason jars, and they made it through. But this is where it gets a little bit serious. For everyone in Huntingdon, because as Sean said, because of the situation at Raystown Lake, there's a small chance that the brewery won't make it through the year. Things aren't down to nothing, but summer tourism is where the area makes the money that gets them through the winter. And it looks like the money's not going to be there. Memorial Day was down, and there have been articles in the local papers quoting folks who've had businesses here for years. They've never seen it this bad. So, if you can, go spend some time and money in Huntingdon. Get comfy at Boxer's, get some beers and sandwiches and pie. Play bacon bingo at Juniata Brewing, and get some beer for take-home in a mason jar. Visit the farm, stock up on some baked goods, or hit that Best Way drive-thru. And a hot summer day, like I said, perfect to visit Lincoln Caverns because it's always cool underground. There's one more thing you can do. As I drove east out of Huntingdon just before heading north on Route 655 into the Big Valley, think of it, a Big Valley episode, it's going to be great. I saw Swigart's Auto Museum. It looks like a big old mansion by the side of the road, except there's this old fire engine parked out front. I went in and talked to the docent, and she was nice enough to show me around. Wow. This is the first time I've actually seen a Stanley steamer, and it's wild. A car with valves for the driver to turn and adjust. It looked like the plumbing in our old house. They don't have the first production Tucker torpedo. They have the original prototype Tucker torpedo. See, Mr. Swigart started his auto museum in 1920. It is the oldest auto museum in America because he thought cars were being wasted. This collection concentrates on short-run car companies, and they have some rare types I've never heard of. A 1909 Mora Runabout, one of 2 known to exist. An 1899 Winston, a 1902 Crestmobile, a 1920 Carol believed to be the only Carol in existence. Fittingly, they also have a DeLorean, and they have Herbie the Love Bug, from the movies. There's also a 1912 Detroit Electric, which is a far cry from today's EVs. I was enthralled. There are a lot of these small museums sprinkled through Pennsylvania, and this one is a standout. Put it on your list. But mostly, like I said, go to Huntingdon. They need you right now, and it's simply beautiful. The ridges that converge there, the sparkle of the blue Juniata, the trails that beckon. I haven't even mentioned the beautiful homes of the historic district. Huntingdon, the ancient borough, as they call themselves, didn't tear everything down as it grew. And there are some great places. Beautiful streets lined with shady trees. I'll be going back. Maybe I'll see you there, over a cup of coffee, a glass of beer, or at the pizza drive-thru. What else do I have for you? Well, I have these plugs that no one pays me for. That's what I've got. Seriously, I talk about these things because I love them, and I think you will too. Like the PA Cider Fest. Unfortunately, I won't be there as planned, but you should still go. I won't make it like I thought I would, but we're still going to do a cider episode this summer, and it's still a great event. I mean, if you're within 2 hours of Gettysburg, PA this weekend, the Pennsylvania Cider Fest is this Saturday, June 14th. And the range of ciders, great ciders, is maybe better than you've ever seen. You like sweet, fruity ciders? They got them. Do you like dry, wine-like ciders? They got them. You want to try some wild, funky, single-tree ciders? Maybe pear or crabapple or quince ciders? They got them. If you want to learn more about cider, if you want to learn more about the great ciders that Pennsylvania is producing, you need to go to this. And yes, of course, there are food trucks, good ones, live music, crafty stuff, t-shirts, and you can buy bottles, cans, or cases of cider to take home with you. Best of all, you can pick them out and pay for them at the individual stands, continue to wander around and have a good time, and then they'll all be waiting for you at the exit, packed and ready. You can't beat that. It's a beautiful area and lots of other things to do. The historic Sachs-covered bridge is right on the battlefield. It's a whole weekend. Go to their Facebook page, PA Cider Fest, or use the easiest website URL ever, literally paciderfest.com, no spaces. Get your tickets and go. The following weekend, June 21st, is the open house at the American Philatelic Society, the National Society for Stamp Collectors in Bellefonte. The APS, not coincidentally, my daughter Nora's employer, is open for tours in the historic Match Factory building from 10 to 5. See the historic building, view beautiful and historic stamp exhibits, and see some of the Society's rarest stamps and covers, as the collectors call envelopes, like the famous Inverted Jenny, one of the rarest and priciest American stamps. There's a free stamp table with literally thousands of beautifully colorful canceled stamps that you can dig through and take home to start your own collection. Plenty of philatelic crafts and activities for kids and adults, and a real live stamp show, Scopex, hosted by the Mount Nittany Philatelic Society. Plus, if you've got some stamps, coins, or even small antiques in your attic, you can bring them down on the day to have our local experts take a look and let you know if you have any hidden treasures on your hands. And if all that's not enough, there'll be great food truck chow from Farmstead Fusion, and, well, you know, the Big Spring Spirits cocktail bar is in the same building and opens at noon, so that's always good. Get more details at stamps.org/events. Finally, a plug of my own. My new book, American Whiskey Masterclass, has a final cover design that I'll be putting up on the Seen Through a Glass Facebook page and Instagram account. Big news, Barnes & Noble has chosen my book as one of their featured gift books for the holiday season, with placement on the tables at the front of the store. Very pleased about that. I also have my first event planned, and it's a beauty. On October 18th, I'll be at Iron City Distilling, northeast of Pittsburgh, right on the Allegheny River, for an event with me, distiller Matt Strickland, and everyone's rye whiskey buddy, Sam Kumlenik. We'll be talking about the new whiskey category, American Single Malt, and how it came to be, and we're going to taste some 100% malt whiskey, and some 100% rye whiskey, and some 100% corn whiskey, maybe even a 100% wheat whiskey. I don't know of anyone doing a similar tasting. I'm pretty excited for it. I'll have copies of my book, and Matt will have copies of his new book, Whiskey, Grain to Glass, for which I wrote the foreword. We're going to talk whiskey, taste whiskey, drink whiskey, and, well, we're right beside the brewery. We might as well have a beer, too. More details to come, but save the date. October 18th. If you're not that close to Pittsburgh, I would love to come do a book signing in your area. Talk to me, let me know where a good place might be to do it, and we'll see what we can make happen. Book season's coming fast. That's the show. Thanks to Paula Seguin for the interview. It sure was good to be back, and your mother-in-law makes great pie. Thanks also for Sean Steig for taking the time to sit down and talk to me about Juniata Brewing and about the situation at Raystown Lake. Folks, if you can, fit Huntingdon into your summer vacation. As always, you can find pictures for this episode on Instagram at Stag Podcast and on Facebook at Seen Through a Glass. If you're listening to the show on the radio at WSOV, there are over 50 more episodes to enjoy, including a Milheim episode and a Nittany Valley episode, at Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or any of the major podcast sources. If you'd like to toss a bit in my hat to keep the show going, I have a coffee button in my Instagram link tree, that's at Stag Podcast, and on the Facebook page. Thank you. I just read about ancient eel weirs found in the Susquehanna River. These large structures are V-shaped lines of piled rocks on the bottom of the relatively shallow river. They would funnel the downstream eel migration to points where the native inhabitants could capture the eels in baskets, much more efficiently than single line or even net fishing. It's estimated that before the construction of the current hydroelectric dams on the river, eels composed as much as 40% of the biomass of the river ecosystem. The weirs may even predate the construction of the pyramids, based on carbon dating of an eel capture basket found at the apex of a similar weir in Maine that dates it to about 4000 BC. It's not the size of these structures that amazes me, although the largest are a quarter mile across, nor is it how long ago they were built. I'm simply astounded that even after floods like Hurricane Agnes in 1972 and the devastating flood of 1936, that these structures are even still there. You can see them from hills along the river. What's the next episode? Oh, we're at that I have no idea point again. I do have an interview taped, but it's not the one I want to do next. I've got another interview on the schedule, but it might be tight to get it pulled together for the show. See the pants, folks. Here we go again. So until then, thanks for listening. This is Lou Bryson on Seen Through a Glass from the smack dab center of the Keystone State.